Hi, I'm Melissa Davis, and welcome to Hello Prime Life, where midlife isn't a crisis, it's your comeback. Quitting your corporate job, selling the house, moving to Costa Rica to teach yoga, even though your knees flat out refuse to tackle hero pose and you don't actually like yoga. Or is that just me? For some reason, when women think about reinvention, that's the exact movie that plays in their head. They think they have to blow up their entire existence just to get a breath of fresh air. What if I told you the biggest reinventions look nothing like that? Last year, a TV network approached me about recreating a chat show I used to host. Everyone assumed I'd leap at it. It sounded like the perfect comeback. Returning to something I'd loved, back in the spotlight, validation that I still had what it takes. But when I sat with it, really sat with it, something felt off. My husband thought it was perfect. Friends were thrilled. Industry contacts were saying, go for it. And there I was, smiling and nodding like an old pro, while inner me was raising an eyebrow, thinking, why does this feel like I'm being handed someone else's dream? It felt like trying to squeeze back into a dress from a decade ago. Sure, I could probably force the zipper up if I held my breath and didn't sit down, but I'd be suffocating all night just to look good to everyone else. Walking away from that perfect opportunity was actually reinvention in action. Not the dramatic kind we think we need, the quiet kind, where you finally stop hiding behind what looks good and start choosing what feels right. Because everyone gets this wrong about reinvention. It doesn't have to be explosive. It doesn't require chaos, cliches, or running off to an ashram. The most purposeful reinventions don't tear everything down. They build on who you are, what you know, and where you actually want to go now. Today, I'm showing you how to start reinventing in a way that feels exciting instead of terrifying. We've been sold a lie about what reinvention actually requires, that it has an expiration date, that it means starting from scratch, that it requires burning everything down. And that's terrifying when you're contemplating change in your life. None of that is true. Here's the pressure nobody talks about. We're told we need to constantly reinvent ourselves to stay relevant. The newest version, the latest upgrade, like we're software that needs perpetual updates or will become obsolete. And if you're not pivoting, not launching, not becoming a whole new you every 18 months, you're falling behind. You're stuck. You're not growing. Except here's what that narrative ignores. Constantly becoming someone new means you never get to be anyone. You're always performing the next version instead of living this one. That's not growth. That's exhaustion dressed up as ambition. And underneath all that, there's another message. That after a certain age, you're supposed to settle in and stop wanting more for yourself. Reinvention isn't something only young go-getters get to do, and it's not about erasing who you were or scrapping everything. It's about realigning your life with who you are now, not who you were 10 years ago, and not who everyone else expects you to be. Think of it like this. You're not demolishing the whole house. You're just redecorating the rooms that don't feel like you anymore. Maybe that means pivoting in your work so it nourishes your life instead of eating your soul. Setting boundaries that protect your time and energy. Making space for things that light you up even if they feel selfish. Saying no to what shrinks you and yes to what helps you grow. What this is really about is redefining current you and creating a life that fits. Every significant change I've made started with fear. Stepping in front of a TV camera for the first time, moving out of home, getting married, launching my first business. Here's what I learned. Fear usually means you're standing on the brink of something remarkable. But we resist change because it disrupts our comfort zones and sense of control. So we convince ourselves that change equals chaos, that we either hit rock bottom and claw our way out, or make some wild leap and risk losing everything. And here's the fear nobody says out loud. What if I blow up my life and the new version isn't better? What if I leave the stable job, the predictable relationship, the comfortable routine, and discover I was wrong? At 25, you can recover from a bad decision. At 45, every choice feels like it carries more weight, more consequences, more people affected, more financial stakes. And let's be honest, you've got bills, responsibilities, maybe people depending on your income. Follow your dream sounds great until you're staring at your mortgage payment. So you stay, not because you're okay with everything, but because the fear of being wrong feels bigger than the cost of staying stuck. No wonder we hold back. The thing I wish I'd known sooner? You can reinvent any part of your life gently, strategically, and entirely on your own terms. You don't need to have it all figured out. You just need to ease into it and stay curious. So how do you start making changes when you're scared, frazzled, and don't have a clue where to begin? Here's a 3-step approach I've used across my own multiple reinventions, and I've seen it play out for others too. It's simple, manageable, and most importantly, it actually works. Step 1, pay attention to your energy. Asking yourself, what do I want to do with my life, is too big a question. Start smaller. Spend a week noticing what sparks your energy and what zaps it. Pay attention to when you feel most like yourself and when you feel off too. What's happening in those moments? Jot it down in your phone's notes app. No fancy journal required. It's not homework. It's detective work. Your energy is leaving you breadcrumbs, so follow them. And if you're already thinking, I don't have time to track my energy, that resistance, that's information too. Because if you don't have time to notice what's draining you, that's exactly why you're drained. Step 2, make micro moves, not massive leaps. There's no need to uproot your entire life. Reinvention isn't a single dramatic decision. It's a series of tiny, intentional experiments. Don't quit your job tomorrow. Try changing one small thing about how you do it, like working from a different location for one day. If you always say yes in meetings, practice saying, let me think about that and get back to you. Or try making Sunday morning about you instead of catching up on everyone else's to-do list. The aim isn't to change everything at once. Pick something small and take it for a test drive. No wrong turns, no pressure. Micro moves build confidence, and confidence makes bigger changes feel doable. And here's the bonus. Think of the money you'll save on the plane trip to Costa Rica. Now we come to step 3. It's all about finding your people. You don't have to do this solo, you know. Reinvention is harder in isolation and exhausting when no one understands what you're trying to do. Find people who get it. What I call your prime movers posse. People who disrupt your fear of failure instead of feeding it. You need the straight shooter who'll tell it like it is. The grounder to bring you back to earth when you're spiralling. The wild card with the, never thought of that perspective. The trailblazer who makes you think, maybe I can too. And the silver lining spotter who reminds you that you survived low-rise jeans and the Rachel cut so you can get through this. You get the idea. What nobody tells you about finding your people is that you might need to let some people go first. That friend who always has a reason why your ideas won't work. The family member who still treats you like you're 12. The people who need you to stay small so they feel better about themselves. They don't get a seat at this table. Reinvention requires protection, and sometimes that means protecting yourself from people who love you but can't support who you're becoming. And here's the surprising part. Once you stop accommodating them, the right people have room to show up. I'm fortunate to have a very select, very small number of close friends in my posse now. Quality over quantity. Find allies who remind you that wanting more isn't selfish, that change is possible, and that you're not crazy for craving something different. So what does this actually look like when you put it into practice? A friend started a side project on weekends. Nothing dramatic, just something that interested her. 2 years later, it's her full-time income, and she can't remember why she was so scared to begin. Another woman I know joined a walking group, just showed up once a week to move her body with strangers. 6 months in, one of those strangers mentioned a job opening. She applied, she got it. It changed everything. And I've watched women say one word more often: no. No to soul-sucking obligations. No to being everyone's go-to person. Their job stayed the same, but their life felt completely different because they finally started living it on their terms. Small moves, big shifts. That's how reinvention actually works. So what tiny experiment is calling to you? What doable shift has been whispering your name? What bite-sized thing keeps nudging at the edges of your thoughts? If you've been craving a change, but the thought of starting over makes your stomach flip, take heart. You don't need to torch your life to build something better. Reinvention isn't about leaving everything behind. It's having the courage to stop running on autopilot and start calling the shots in your own life. Want some simple ways to get moving? Grab my free guide, 5 Fresh Ways to Reignite Your Mojo. It's full of low-pressure, high-impact sparks to get you going without the overwhelm. Links in the show notes. Here's your prime power move for this week. Become an energy detective. For just 3 days, track one thing: what gives you a spark of energy and what quietly depletes it. Jot it down on your phone. Then pick one energy drainer and experiment with doing less of it. And pick one energy gainer and do a little more of it. Simple as that. Your reinvention starts with these breadcrumbs. They'll show you exactly where you want to go next. Next week, we're talking about confidence, why it's not something you're born with, and how to build it even if yours feels like it's deserted you. Until then, remember, reinvention doesn't mean you have to rip up the floorboards and start from scratch. It just means you finally stop letting everyone else dictate the floor plan of your life. You're more ready than you think. Your prime life is calling. Don't let it go to voicemail. Thanks for tuning in. Can't wait to catch you next time.